Status Podcast. Key Sport, don't hate us. We do got a gator. We do got a gator in the building, man, but do not hate us.
Still had to represent, though.
But welcome us, dog.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on today.
It's gonna be a good conversation. So we got Delbert, on-campus recruiting coordinator for Army right now. Just left Robert Morris, so it's gonna be a dope conversation. But we're gonna come talk to you guys about the HBCU experience. That's really what we want to hit on. Delbert went to Hampton out of Gateway High School. Again, don't hold that against us. Don't hold it against us.
How many times we played against each other? All 4 years.
All 4 years, and I don't think I got a dub. I might have got.
I got a dub my sophomore year. I Gateway.
I didn't get one.
Cam Keys and those.
I got one.
Yeah.
I got one 9th grade year, just like freshman football. We made y'all.
But then we also played AAU together too.
Yeah.
And sixth grade or 7th grade?
7th or 8th. The thing about basketball, like basketball. They couldn't hold me. They couldn't hold me on the hoop. So that old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. He found out I was playing for the squad. He said, I'm gonna go play with Ty.
Nah, they hit me up, man. They hit me up.
Nah, we did play AAU together. I forgot all about that. Shout out to Linda Cutler and the Cutler Cougars, boy.
I ain't seen her in years.
Man, I don't think anybody has. Did you go down to Atlanta with us? You might have missed that.
I don't think I went to that one.
Man.
We went to a couple of the local ones. And then I forget why I didn't go to the Atlanta one. That team was wild though.
Boy, you missing experience. We drove to Atlanta. We drove from the Burg to Atlanta.
Solid 10.
Two hoop squads, like 2 full basketball teams, and 2 minivans.
Yeah.
Yo, it was crazy.
It was a little bit JV-ish.
Yeah. Bro, that squad was wild.
Yeah. Did y'all at least win?
Yeah, we won a tournament.
No, okay. Well, it was worth it then.
It was.
It wasn't like when Louis Young played down in Louisiana, down in a football tournament and got scraped. You remember Big Jim, your uncle? We drove down there 3 vans, like how Miss Sam had the old minivan.
Yeah.
3 deep. They got scraped. No. It was my dad's team, the big team, but I went because he always had to play some Mississippi boys. He said, y'all bring these little boys down here, we finna kill these little boys. I said, oh, they real.
It's a little different.
Yeah, it's different. 23 hours in the vans to get scraped.
Yeah, that's ill, boy. I would have been sick.
I was just on the sideline.
What was Miss Sam saying?
I don't remember. Because I was peeping them, their age range. So I can't remember. I was there for the experience, man.
Yeah.
That's real.
But man, like I said, thanks for joining us, bro. Gateway High School. What took you to Hampton, man? First, talk about your recruiting process.
So my recruiting process was a little interesting because I feel like we had Corey Brown and Dorian and Cam Sadler and Shane Hale. We had all these guys. So like when I was coming through, I was like meeting Dayon. We were kind of like those next guys. Mm-hmm. And so I started all the way since my sophomore year.
And that's something because you had some dogs on the squad.
Yeah, we did have some guys. Yeah. So literally, I started getting some attention and some pub and everything. Like Coach Terry was like, "You gonna be straight. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Like, don't stress about this stuff. Just keep on balling." And then like I started getting some of the FCS offers like the end of my junior year, going into that summer, and then that's when I started realizing like. Cause people were like, I remember, I'll never forget it. Eastern Michigan walked in the office, was watching my film, was like, yo, he's a dog. You feel me? And then I walked in the room, and his whole demeanor changed.
Really?
I walked in the room, cause you guys know me. I ain't never looked like swole linebacker, and I'm 5'10" and a half. So literally, his heart like dropped when I walked in the room. So it was just interesting, kind of going through that and like. Just being real with yourself and understanding, like, not trying to kill myself because I'm not going to Pitt or whatever. Like I could have played at Pitt. Yeah, sure. I know for a fact I could have played at Pitt. But at the same time, it's all about finding your fit. Yeah. And so, honestly, Hampton, they reached out to me, and their DC had a really good relationship with Coach Terry. both of them played at Penn State together.
Okay.
So that was like kind of where the relationship started. And then my whole entire family went to HBCUs. Everybody, my grandparents, my parents, both my sisters, my uncles, aunts, everybody from Morgan to Howard, Hampton, Lincoln. You can keep on going down the list. So like when they kind of got in the picture, like at first I was like, alright, it's just an offer. I mean, I was like most young dudes. You feel like, oh, I got an offer, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting later in the process, I started looking at it like, okay, this actually might be a good option for me. Like, I mean, socially, academically, football-wise, everything. So through kind of like my family and just like the connection with Coach Terry and the DC, that was kind of like how it came about me going to Hampton.
Was Hampton your only HBCU offer?
So later on, I got Perry Vienna, but I didn't want to go that far. I mean, I wanted to get out of Pittsburgh, but I mean, that's in Texas. I was like, I don't know about that. And I think another thing too, like, so y'all remember Sean Brisker, and then we had Omar Finn. Those two, they both went to Perry.
Okay.
And like, so my dad was like, man, do you want to go or are you trying to go because of that?
Right. Yeah.
And so like, I think that's one thing that a lot of these guys, they don't realize that when you going through the process of recruiting or like you're a grown ass man, it's not about what your friends are doing. Right. It's about you and making sure you're making the right decision for you and your family. Like you ain't making decisions for me, you're making it for your wife and your kid. You know, like so. I think that's one thing that like my dad hit home with me, making sure like I don't give a damn about your friends. Like what's most important for you.
So why was Hampton that most important decision for you?
So I think it was I definitely wanted to play in the NFL. Like that was, I feel like we all were thinking like that. Like everybody, that was their dream. So like hearing about all the NFL players that came through there, played in the league, that were still in the league while I was there, that was huge for me. The HBCU experience was huge for me, and I felt like the education I was going to get there was real. And so I thought that would be something that I could essentially bring back to Pittsburgh or wherever I was going to be able to set myself up for success after.
And do you feel like you made the right choice?
I do. And I feel like it's like multiple layers to it, because I mean I feel like it's all about the best fit for you essentially. But like I feel like I got great friends from Hampton. I met a lot of people that like are still in my life that I'm able to like do business with, or I got connections all over the place. I feel like my education was good. And honestly, if I didn't go there, I don't know if I'd be coaching right now.
Why that?
So the DC that left actually, that I had the initial connection with, now he was like my junior and senior year, he was the defensive coordinator at Hampton, Bernard Clark. He's the head coach at Rob Morris now.
Oh, okay. You came
so like,
whenever I was working on the Keys, where you came there, right?
Yeah, so it's all kind of like, you never know how stuff can fall in place.
Man, the connections.
Yeah, the connections are huge.
Whenever they say your network is your network, they mean that, man.
No, that's real. And just seeing like, and I don't know how every other school is, but when I look at my locker room, there's a lot of guys doing well, and not just football, like other stuff, like lawyers, and you got teachers, you got chiropractors, you got all these different things that were in our locker rooms at Hampton. So,
which is dope.
When did you commit to Hampton?
So I committed after my visit. It was probably like a week later, and I will fault that it was. I feel like we all kind of got fangled a little bit, like because they gonna put that pressure on.
Yeah, they call you in the office.
Yeah, so they hit me with that, like so because Coach Terry, I ain't gonna lie, Coach Terry was a great coach on the field, but off the field he was an unbelievable coach too. So like literally, he told every single one of us, like when we go on a visit, do not commit on the spot. He was like, I don't care how much you love it, do not commit on the spot. And so I was like, all right, coach, I will not commit on the spot. So then the head coach walks in. He starts going, he was like, all right, so you gonna do it or you not doing it? Like, what's going on? And then I was like, because I told my dad before, I was like, Coach Terry said for us not to commit. And so my dad was like, all right, let's not commit. And we'll come back, we can talk about it on the way home. And so literally, he was like, okay, Delbert, that's fine. Okay, I'm cool with that. We got another linebacker coming up next week. We got another linebacker coming up next week. So I can't guarantee you anything, but we really do want you here. So I was like, all right. But I ain't gonna lie, deep in my heart, I was like, I don't want to miss this opportunity. So I think, now I didn't commit on the spot, but I called him like Wednesday or Thursday that week and committed. You feel me? So
right before the other linebacker.
Yeah,
right before the weekend.
But we all know it's a game.
Yeah, right.
So there was 2 other linebackers in my class too. It wasn't the only spot. You feel me? So we all know the game, play the game, and all stuff like that.
Now, you took any other visits?
So I took a visit to Duquesne.
Okay, that's your
that was my first visit, and then Hampton was my second.
So what was the difference between the Hampton visit and the Duquesne?
It's a deep and easy question.
Right.
So it was completely different. Like just the attention to detail at Hampton was way like I don't think Duquesne's like that anymore. But like the detail to like literally when I came on a visit, I stayed with one of the players. I get to Hampton, I'm in a hotel on the water. You feel me? Like next to the beach.
Right.
Like so that right there set it off. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is way different than last. Especially like when you got back-to-back visits.
Right.
I mean, I know you guys remember that. Like when you went to one spot and then you went to the next spot the next week, you remember everything from the last spot. It's a little different when you take a visit and then like take a visit like 4 months later, you're gonna forget a couple things. But I was able to literally like put them things side to side and be like, it's not even close. Yeah. Hampton was very hands-on. So it was rough. It was definitely rough. But honestly, I think the best thing that I kind of experienced at Hampton on the academic side was just being around all different types of black people. Like, you went to Kent State, you went to UConn and BC. We had everything you guys had, like personality-wise, but they were just 98% black. Wow. So like the dudes that like, and that's one thing that I think is, especially coming from Pittsburgh, I feel like when you're black, you're kind of put into a box. And if you're outside the box, then you kind of looked at as like outcast. Like,
you act white.
You act white, you talk white, you skateboard, you do this. But at Hampton, it was literally, you had everything. Like, I would come downstairs in the dorm, dudes be playing Pokemon, and you be like, all that, they be black. But probably at BC, you only saw white dudes doing that.
Even if you like walking around Pittsburgh, you see some dude playing Pokemon, you're like, why you act white? Or you act weird. You know, people will categorize you as a certain thing, but at Hampton, like you said.
Yeah, so it kind of like, I feel like for me, it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things in the world. And then just being around like hungry people in the academics that look like
you too. Like it was the biggest part, man.
Cause like around here, I mean, we can all be honest, but a lot of times it's just like they tell you like you can be anything you want to be.
Right.
But a lot of times you're not seeing that.
There's no visual to it.
Yeah, there's no visual. Like I can't physically touch that. Like I have been around. Like I mean, my dad's a CPA, so I've been able to see some stuff like that. But like as a whole, I mean, you don't see it all like that all the time. So I think that was crucial for me, just being around like other hungry people on the football field and in the classroom.
Yeah, so when you talk about like black excellence, that's like a thing whenever you go to an HBCU.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it, and I feel like it is real. It is real.
What did you major in?
Business management.
Business management.
Yeah.
Now, do you think when you went to Duquesne on a visit, when you talk to Duquesne and with their academics, do you see any difference by joining the Hampton program?
So, there were some like, I feel like Duquesne they got a great education program, and they got They got some really prominent people that have come from Duquesne that are doing really good things. But the way I kind of looked at it was, I feel like the teachers, from what was explained to me and what I saw, the teachers were more invested in me because they kind of saw me in like I could have been like their son or something, or like they're there for a bigger reason than just to like come teach. So I feel like they're more hands on. They want you to do well, but they will fail you like that. Like
we have more of a relationship with them.
Yep, and because I kind of see it like it's almost like a father-mother relationship. You feel me? Like your parents are the hardest people on you, and that's how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure. Opposed to a PWI, you're just a number.
Yeah, just a number.
You walk into the classroom.
And even deeper than that, because I would say it sometimes happens at HBCUs too, but sometimes you're just not even. I would say it's probably more black or white, but sometimes you're just put in like a football athlete box. Like he's doing good in his class. He got a 2.0.
Yeah.
We're like if we called our parents and was like we got 2.0 in school right now, they look at that a little different.
Right.
So was it
that way at Hampton?
I think so. Yeah. And that was my experience. Like even with the coaches, like that's one thing I feel like, and I try to make sure I'm doing too. I would never want a player to think that like I'm just here to like talk football with you. Like Coach Terry, he talked about being a man, talked about marriage, he talked about money, he talked about all those other things. And I feel like if I can only talk to you as a football player, then I'm basically disrespecting you and saying like you're no more than just a football player. And so that's what I kind of saw from the coaches while I was there and when I was getting recruited there.
That's huge, man. Because you don't talk like you talked about these big time schools, SEC, Power 5 type schools. You're not hearing that type of conversation.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? You're hearing about what can you do for me on the field, and certain places, you got some special people where they want to really help the student out. Right. But
because it's interesting. Like, so I've talked to a couple of coaches that I've worked with, and literally they've told me that they did not have a relationship with their position coach, and some told me that they didn't want it either. Like, they're like, I just want to come play football and leave. You feel like you do your job, I'll do my job, I'm cool. But at the same time, it's like, how could a grown man that's yelling at you and telling you to do stuff have no sense of relationship with you?
Right. It's tough. It's tough to get your players to play hard if you don't have a good relationship.
Absolutely. The relationships is, I think, very important because I know y'all can probably test it too. The relationship I had with my first defensive line coach was like second to none. Like, you go up there on holidays, he invites you over because you up there, you down there, whatever. You don't got no family, you know what I mean? He take you in like that. You know what I mean? Not to say that my second one didn't, because he's a great guy too. I still have a relationship with him. I remember I seen him on Last Chance U, going down there to recruit or whatever. I texted him like, okay, you got some story time or whatever. We had a good conversation. So those are just relationships you gonna remember, especially as a student athlete. I know I remember them, like, you know what I mean? Just pick back up.
Because I feel like the players are going, especially like today in today's world, they're going through so many different things.
Right.
So if they can't open up to you and you can't kind of like almost like nurture that piece, how are you gonna be able to get everything out of them you want? You feel me? So, cause like there's coaches that they'll be like, yeah, he's going through this right now. Like this is what's going on. This is why he's not producing right on the field. This is what he needs.
Absolutely.
And so some coaches do get that. And some coaches don't.
I think that's a forgotten piece because I think a lot of people try to heal someone just on the field.
Yep.
But how can you heal them on the field when they're not healed in life? Like there's a lot of times where we may be going through something in life and now our performance on the field is getting affected to whereas the coach may not really care too deep about it. It's just like, all right, football field you're lacking. Yep. Instead of asking, what's going on, son? What's wrong?
Something's up.
Yeah, something's up.
Because I feel like it all goes full circle. And I think that's one thing that's going on right now in the transfer portal stuff is that guys are only looking at the football aspect where you got the social aspect, you got the academic stuff, and I feel like if you can't have it all go for a full circle and do well on all those, then once one goes bad, I don't have nothing else. You feel me?
Right.
Like if I only went to Kent State for football, and then I'm literally football drops, or let's say I'm doing bad in football, and I hate everything else about the school, I'm gonna transfer.
Right.
So I feel like nowadays guys gotta look at the full picture.
100%.
So, and then that goes to like the relationship and understanding where you fit at.
For sure. Alright, so we talked about the relationship piece at Hampton and, some things that you got being at HBCU from, that community, that faculty, that staff, those coaches. What are some other things that you feel like you got at Hampton that you couldn't get at a predominantly white institution?
So I feel like one thing I did get at Hampton was just like this sense of like there was a lot more emphasis on being black, and all stuff like that.
So you had a good sense of like community at Hampton.
Yep.
That's one thing that we talk about, like at PWIs, like being a black kid at a predominantly white institution, like their sense of belonging is not always there.
Right.
And they're like, dang, I'm on this campus and I feel lost. And then a lot of times, whenever they feel lost, that's whenever I'm out, especially whenever things start going bad, like you was talking about, you know what I mean? Football's going bad, I'm on this campus where I don't feel comfortable, I'm out. You know what I mean? But if you got that sense of community and sense of belonging on a campus, you feel like you're there for a bigger purpose than just sports.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I think that is a big piece of it is you want to feel like you're in a community.
Right.
You want to feel comfortable in where you're at. It's almost like when you come back home, as soon as you open the door, it's like, I know I'm home. I feel good.
Right. Yep. And a lot of people don't feel like that. Once they leave, say once you leave Kent or once you leave BC or UConn or wherever it might be, once you leave, you're gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't feel like, oh, whenever I come back,
this
is home. You know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to do now at BC, make sure that whenever they leave, they feel like whenever they come back, Boston College is home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of HBCUs, once they leave, they're so prideful.
Man.
They're so prideful.
I know people
like,
been removed like 15 years still. Can't wait till homecoming. Can't wait.
That is
for real.
Yeah. No, that is real. And I will say I've only been to, and that's because of my profession, only been back to Hampton once.
Yeah.
And that was for homecoming in 2014. I had a great time.
Yeah.
But, I would love to go back, but you just can't. Unless I get fired in a couple of years. But hopefully not.
But whenever you step foot on that campus, this experience was second to none. I felt like, this HBCU experience was something that I can hold on to for my entire life.
And it is something that, like, people do take a lot of pride in.
Right.
Like I feel like it's like with anything. Like when you guys were at McKeesport, you guys are gonna say certain stuff like, I hate McKeesport. I wish I went somewhere else. But as soon as you leave, ain't nobody talking about McKeesport in front of me. You feel me? And I feel like that's the same thing at HBCUs where like there's certain stuff that you go through at HBCUs. Like we don't have the nicest facilities. We don't have some of the stuff that maybe are at like ODU or some of the other schools, but when you get in the real world, you're not talking about Hampton. You're not talking about no HBCUs in front of me. So there is that sense of pride. Yeah.
And when you get in the real world, you talk about Hampton and the community that they have. They're not bringing up those facilities.
Yeah, no. They bringing up what the guys doing after.
Right. Yep. The famous alum you got.
Yeah.
That's crucial. I think moving forward, I think at least in this area, I know coming out of high school, I was always intrigued because I talked to a Hampton coach, whatever, in my recruitment process, but I didn't know too much about HBCUs. I think now that's coming up a little bit more that those things are going to change.
Yep.
Like facilities and whatnot is going to change. There's going to be more money put into it to where now me coming out of McKeesport getting recruited, I know a little bit about Howard, a little bit more about Hampton.
Yep.
You just know a little bit that scratches the surface. You don't really know too much. It's just like,
Yeah. And what do you think needs to be done short term, and then what do you think needs to be done long term in order to enhance the athletic experience at HBCUs?
So a big piece of it is the money piece. Mm-hmm. That's a huge piece, and I feel like you see Deion Sanders doing a lot of that now. I mean, literally, they're definitely at a disadvantage in some aspects with the money and stuff like that. But if you can get a head coach in there that like can go out and grind and get money for the guys and bring great players in, I think it could be a big game changer.
What about recruiting? Because like you talk about when we came out, I never got recruited by HBCU. Yeah.
So
right? They never came and called me and said, "Hey, we want you to come to Hampton, or we want you to come to Howard." I guess once you get to a certain level, they're like, that kid's not going to come here. Yeah. Like, what do you say about that?
So I feel like that is, especially like some of the southern schools, they don't come all the way up to Pittsburgh. Like literally, I was the only guy on the team from Pittsburgh.
Wow.
The whole entire time. There was one other guy on the team that was from Philly, but then he left. So literally, I was like the only person on the team from PA on the whole entire team. Actually, there was one other, but like that played yeah, for the most part. So I feel like when you were in college, you had guys from a whole bunch of guys from PA. Right. Like same for you. So like they didn't come up there that often. Like all they were doing was Virginia and going down.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like they still missed the boat on some guys who may be interested in coming into HBCU who end up going to maybe a MAC or maybe, a Duquesne or something like that?
I feel like now it's starting to change where everybody has access. Right. So you're not really missing guys, and I feel like I can't fully speak on Hampton because I don't really know their coaching staff, but like I know Howard is shooting. I know Norfolk State got the hand.
FAMU. They offered the lineman this year and Jacksonville State, so they're
out here. So some of those, like even like Delaware State, I know they got their hand in a little bit of everything. They trying to get in the game.
Wow.
And I feel like that's a piece of it. Like
right.
You gotta want to get in the game, and at the same time, like it is a struggle trying to like you like what you like.
Right.
And I think that's like with anything, like for coaches when they're recruiting, if they don't like that, like they don't like it. You feel me? So like sometimes high school coaches they get frustrated or families get frustrated with guys, like, oh, how you not like such and such. But essentially my job is on the line.
Right.
And so I'm making a certain amount of money for me and my family to be able to eat and live and be comfortable. So if I don't like him, I don't like him. You know what I mean? Like, 100%. So, and like you do get a lot of hate from coaches, and they be like, "Oh, he tripping.
Yeah.
How he missed dude from McKeesport or something like that." Right. Like, well, I just didn't like him.
Yeah. I think there's an intimidation factor too, because Deion Sanders talked about it. Like, there's so many coaches scared to go to that 4-star guy to get turned down. He said, "I'm gonna go to him."
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So,
because it's just, I hate to use it, but I use it all the time. It's just like talking to a woman. Yeah. It's the same thing. All they can say is no. So I might as well shoot my shot, jump in the game. She might 100% diss me.
But you used to that. Bro was used to that.
But at the same time, hey, you shoot enough, you feel me? You straight.
You gonna make it a couple.
Back up 3 for 10. 3 for 10.
Hey, that's better than over. So, and I think that's the way I look at recruiting. You gotta shoot. You gotta like
prime time. What do you think that he brought to the HBCU experience?
So at first, I feel like everybody thought he was just bringing noise. And I'm not on the staff, so I don't know 100%. But it seems like he's been trying to give his players tools for life. So like even I was watching on social media one day, he got every single guy on the team doing mock interviews. And you think about it, I don't know about you guys, but I never did a mock interview with my football coaches when I was in class. Yeah, for a class or anything like that. But think about how many interviews Primetime has done in his life. And he's coaching them up on, and it's not just the star players, like some schools, they be like, hey, you're going to be on TV this week. We got to make sure you're saying the right things, you're doing this. It's everybody.
That's dope.
And so those guys are learning those skills at an early age so that, man, they might be on TV one day, they might be doing an interview one day, or that might just help them on a Zoom interview one day. You feel me? So I think he's trying to hit on those life skill things. Like, yeah, he's big on football, but I feel like if you're also big on those life skills and preparing the guys for after football, I think that's huge.
That's huge, man. That life after football thing.
It's real.
We talk about it all the time.
Talk about it all the time. Not even just football, but all sports, man. Life after sports is something that kids don't think about as much as they should. No, you good. Something that they don't think about as much as they should.
Yeah, nah. I know they offered it at Kent. I'm not sure about BC or UConn. Did they offer like a life after sports course for you guys?
So we had like seminars and stuff like that, and we used to have guest speakers come in, and then we also did like a career day. It wasn't even like an interview. It was more. And honestly, I probably didn't take it fully serious.
As you should.
As I should, you feel me? But I did start taking some of that stuff more serious like my senior year. Because I started seeing like, okay, I don't want to be one of these guys that comes back to pro day 5 times in a row. All the time. Because you think about it, because the reason they do this is because they have no other options. And they only feel comfortable around football. And so I never would want somebody to just look at me and be like, the only thing he's comfortable doing is football.
Yeah, right.
But we did have some little stuff like that, but it probably wasn't as enhanced as it should be.
Yeah, I know we had like a legit like semester course, like it's just like a once a week or something like 1 credit. It's like a life after sports, and also like a winning combinations course. I think it was real big. So it was definitely dope. I wonder if they offered it at HBCU.
Yeah.
Talk about the resources, right?
Yeah.
The money. You may not have that
Yeah.
cash flow to be able to offer those type of resources to student athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's real.
What about Howard Hampton, man?
How many times
did you beat Howard?
So to be honest with you, I only beat Howard. Actually, I think it was my freshman. So actually, my sophomore year, we lost the. Was it my sophomore year? We beat them my freshman year. I know that for a fact. My sophomore year, we beat them too. It was my junior, my senior year, we lost them back to back.
So you went 2-2. You 2-2.
Yeah, but you went out with 2 L's.
Yeah, I went out with 2 L's back to back, and it was against what's it called? Greg McGee.
Okay.
From Perry.
I ain't gonna lie to you though. Howard came up to BC.
Yeah.
It was 76-9.
Yeah, it can get ugly real quick. It can get ugly real quick. But literally before we lost to him, I think it was a 16-year run that Howard was losing to Hampton.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of pressure.
So you was part of that team that
Come on.
Like that. 2 years in a row.
What was campus life like during those the Howard Hampton games?
I mean, honestly,
is it as good as advertised?
Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
And it matters where it's at. So if we're playing in DC, then literally everybody is going to DC.
Yeah.
You already know DC can be live. But then if it's at Hampton, it's not as many. Like Hampton's not a huge city like DC. So it's a little different, but the vibe is still, I would say, the same.
How far are they apart?
It's about 3.5.
3.5.
So that's pretty close.
Yeah, so it's a decent amount of beef.
Yeah.
But it's some good love too. They're actually playing again this year. I think it's in New York actually. They're doing like a big classic.
Oh, in New York?
Yeah, I think it's New York. I gotta double check. But like,
that'd be dope.
yeah,
for sure.
Is it gonna be close to West Point? You gotta check
I gotta check that out because we probably got games.
Yeah. When do they usually play? Like around the same time of the year?
So I know they try to keep it where it's kind of warm, but I'm not 100% sure. But Robert Morris actually played Hampton and Howard here.
Do they really?
In Pittsburgh this year.
Wow,
that's big. That could be big for HBCUs.
I was gonna
in
say, you see UCLA, they put an HBCU on their football schedule to come play at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's nice, man. That's big exposure for the HBCU.
And it's big money.
Big money,
yeah.
Figure how much they paying them to come out there.
Big money. They're gonna pay them a lot of money. They're gonna put them on a grand stage. They're gonna play in the Rose Bowl, man. Shout out to Martin Jarman, who's the athletic director at UCLA now, who made that happen. But that's huge, man. I feel like lately HBCU's been getting a lot of exposure.
I think the ceiling is going up even more.
Do you think primetime have a big role in that?
I think stuff were starting to trend in that direction, and then he came and took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. I think, primetime going to HBCU, man, and making the noise that he did. And he even got a couple 4-star guys going
right? Transfers too.
He got the #1 JUCO prospect in the country.
Lackawanna.
Yeah.
Lackawanna. Corner. That's tough. And then you just see this is Eddie George. He's at Tennessee State now.
Yeah.
So do you think that's going to be a trend now? Like
I don't know, cause like so.
Hampton got a store. Oh, we got something.
I don't know. Maybe in 5 years.
Maybe
in 5 years. We'll see. But I don't know about the Eddie George stuff. Like, I think that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Cause like Dion, he definitely did have.
He has a backing behind him more than Eddie George.
Yeah. So like he got a coaching background. You feel me? We all know he got a personality.
Right. And he brought the sponsorship, the Under Armour sponsorship.
Yeah. So I really don't know the Eddie George thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, like, cause honestly, I don't know his personality.
Right. That's what I was about to say. He's not really a primetime Eddie George, different personality. Yeah. Eddie George could have been coaching and we not know. Yeah. To where his primetime been coaching because you know everything he's doing.
Yeah.
He's
gonna let you know.
Right. So he could have been coaching.
Yeah, could have been. So we're gonna see real soon. Yeah. But one thing I do know about him, Eddie George, if you look at his staff, put some good people around.
Yeah, I seen that. He did.
So like honestly, he might not know what he's doing at all.
But he put himself in a position to win.
He put himself around some great people.
Right.
So
man, there's a lot of excitement surrounding the HBCU. And then you got the kid Mikey Williams.
Yeah,
talking about the HBCU. And then you got the 5-star. The 5-star, where's he going?
He's going Howard.
Yeah.
And then Master P's son just committed to Tennessee State.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
And he's a top recruit.
Yeah. So, shout out to the HBCUs, man. It's about to be a thing.
And you figure you get a kid like the Miller kid who his dad's Master P, man, that's just going to generate more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's going to be willing to donate.
Oh, yeah.
I want my son doing this, doing that. So
that's the biggest thing, man. Like, HBCUs have a lot of powerful black people in the world.
Absolutely.
Getting
them how do we get them to buy into athletics, to donate back, to build these facilities that they need?
I feel like a big piece of it is just showcasing that is bigger than football. Right. And showcasing in them that like literally we're trying to build a foundation for the young men to be able to then transfer into real life. And I feel like that's when we start getting people, like I feel like the wins and losses, they will come. Yeah. I feel like the wins will come. But if you can get people to buy in on what you're selling, like this is what I got, this is the program that they're gonna be going through, they're all gonna get suits, like dude's gonna be ready for life after football. I feel like that's when people start really investing in your program. Where it's just football, I feel like guys like, if I'm just donating money to a football program, it's like, what are they doing?
Right.
Why
are they winning?
Yeah, or they're not winning. Why do they need this? Why do the players need $5,000?
Right.
So they get more T-shirts. Right. Like, do those T-shirts actually bring some value to their life?
So if you can do it all over again, would you say I'm going to HBCU?
Yeah. I would have still went to Hampton.
Yeah, it's still the Hampton.
So even Howard come in.
Howard reached 2 years ago.
Howard come in. Because out of DC, you said DC can lie. You still good.
I can still make that drive over there and have a good time.
That's good to have.
Man, I can come in, I can leave. You know? But I still would have made that decision. I feel like it was the right decision for me at that time in my life. And I'm not like I grew up in Monroeville, so I'm like not a big city guy, but I do like access to the city. Right. So it was kind of like a perfect spot for me personally.
Yeah. And do you feel like that HBCU on-campus experience is one that you would like to do again?
One that I would like to do again. So
no, I'm saying if you had to do it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have been a little bit better if I lived off campus, but I feel like it was still good.
In terms of the faculty and staff, and the way everybody was able to treat you.
Yep. I mean, I feel like there's on every campus there's stuff that like this could have been better.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
This could that woman should not work there, or there's certain small little things, tweaks that you wish you could have made at the school, but I feel like overall it was a great experience for me.
That's dope. And so you as the head coach of a high school, are you recommending the HBCU to your players?
So I would definitely recommend it to them, but I'll also would make sure like if they're reaching out to you, you're not ignoring them.
Okay. Right.
So like, and I feel like that's something that we probably all kind of experienced. There were certain schools that reached out to us, and we were like, "Nah, I'm good." You feel me? Like where, like I remember when I was in high school, Richmond reached out to me, and they were in the office and they were talking to us. And at that time, like Pitt was like hitting us up, and like some of the bad schools and stuff like that. So we was getting letters. So like me and Dan, we was like, "No, we above them." Like I don't know why they trying to talk to me. But like that's one thing. If I go back, I would have looked at that a lot differently. Just like keeping my options open and hearing what people gotta say. So that's one thing. As a head coach, I would make sure my guys aren't just like looking at the label, the name, and stuff like that. Like that's not Alabama. I'm not talking to them. They beneath me.
Right. So working at two predominantly white institutions, what advice would you give a kid about the HBCU campus experience, being surrounded by, the community and the population that you talked about earlier, compared to the PWI experience?
Ooh. So on that piece, that's a little different. So
beyond sports.
So beyond sports. So one thing I think that is different that I've kind of seen and I've kind of heard from players and people that have gone to PWIs. Most people don't know what PWIs are either. Yeah, most people don't. Like, when I went to Hampton, we learned that, and I started saying PWIs, and people like, what is that? But that is something that like, so I feel like when you go to a PWI, you gravitate to like the black community. You feel me? Where at HBCU, it's kind of just, it's all over. You feel like you don't gotta go search for the culture minority group on Kent State's campus. You feel me? Like I feel like there's like a small pocket of black people that are always together. They're like meeting and doing an organization together. Where at Hampton or at any HBCU, it's a little different. So I try not to. Like even like one thing that I get a lot, especially like at Rob Morris, when I was at Eastern Michigan, I used to get this a lot. Army sometimes, especially like the black families, they're gonna ask like, "What's the diversity on campus?" Like I had one kid, he went to when I was at Rob Morris, his family, his mom actually went to Hampton. She went to Howard actually. My bad. She went to Howard, and then they visited Howard the week before, and then they came to see us. And her first question she asked me when we were walking around, she was like, "Well, how many black women are on this campus? And she was like, I want my son to be around black women and hopefully marry a black woman. You feel me? And so that piece is a little like, because you kind of like, you can't just like ignore that question, and you gotta be honest with her. Like, there's only about 15% African Americans on this campus, and maybe probably like 6 or 7 are black females. So if I try not to like force it on her, but just be honest. Like at Hampton, you're gonna see a lot of women. You know, like a lot. Like it's like 16-1. And then Howard, I don't know the exact number, but it's probably around 16-1, and you're in DC, so you're gonna be around a lot more. So, and that piece is a little interesting, especially like with my job and where I've been working at, and how we have to touch on certain things. And so that is one thing that at Rob Morris, our head coach did try to like put his hand on a lot, making sure like parents were comfortable that he would be a big factor in their life. So he's not just gonna be that figurehead head coach where he's up here, where he's not on the ground level with those guys.
That's important. But shout out to the Black Excellence though, bro. We appreciate you coming on.
Let me come on.
I thought that was a good segment right there.
Yes, sir, man. Definitely. HBCUs.
Yeah, like we said, shout out to HBCUs, man. A lot of good things are happening in the HBCUs, especially when you talk about athletics. You talk about Hampton, you talk about Howard, you talk about what Deion Sanders is doing down at Jackson State. A lot of good things are happening in HBCUs. So, student athletes, when you talk about the recruiting process, keep the HBCUs in mind. Howard, Hampton, Jackson State. There's a ton of them. Do your research, man. Don't think that HBCUs are just, Howard, Hampton, Spelman. There's a ton of schools to pick from. So
take that visit.
Take that visit, man. You never know what you're gonna like and what you don't like until you experience this.
Absolutely. And also, I'm a Keysport people. We got Gator here. Don't be mad at us. We still hold it down. That's all love. Rivalry never ends, man.
We appreciate
you guys.
Yes, sir.
Make sure y'all status.
Yep.
Follow the status 412_ on IG too, man. Peace. Status Podcast.